BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome everybody, we are here in Shanghai for silver, and we've got some action out on track finally. Ferrari, they're coming out onto the circuit. Then welcome to the stream, welcome to Shanghai, and welcome to China. And looking forward to this one. It's round 14 of Silver Season 7. If you couldn't read the title, that is what it is. And we have got Craig R, the only man out on circuit so far, on his outlap to take us away here in China. And welcome to the stream, everyone. Welcome to Luke, who said good luck, everyone. And hello to Luke as well from Blair's video channel, which of course is Gordo, if you didn't know that. But he's in the comment section. He's on the track, or he will be on the track later. He is in the Mercedes here tonight. Then, of course, a champion then in ALR already in the 100% League. He was crowned here in China as well then last Wednesday, and looking forward to getting his trophy and his hoodie, of course, hopefully very soon. But we'll sort that out then in the Discord then with Gordo after the race. But nonetheless, then good stuff indeed then for Gordo. He's very friendly with this circuit. Then, of course, having been crowned the champion of 100% League here only a few days ago then. But we have got some more action here to come up tonight. Then we've got Silver, of course, then who's going to be taking on this famous circuit. Nice returning circuit as well to the calendar, that is, after a bit of a sabbatical and didn't have a few issues and getting himself back on the calendar. But he has got himself back on the calendar. Had a very entertaining race in gold last night here, and of course expecting the same then from Silver as well. So looking forward to then hello to everybody in the comment section and then good luck to the drivers then out on track as well then here tonight. Then looks nice and sunny to start us off in qualifying. Of course, it was Dylan has had an issue and he's left the session and he needs to get himself back in the session so he can start his way in qualifying. Then unfortunately for the championship protagonist, that is bad news indeed if he can't get himself back in the lobby then, because of course he is fighting for the title then, is the McLaren driver. Hopefully he can get himself back in. Then of course Mags then is leading the way in the championship then in the other Ferrari. Then we're watching Craig R, his teammate, flying through turns 2 and 3. He will be setting the first flying lap then. If he keeps it all together in this lap, then he'll get himself the first time on the board here in qualifying. Of course, 15 minutes left of the session, and this will be sorting out the order then for the race itself. Then we've got 28 laps, I think it is, after this. After 15 minutes, then we're going to go straight into the race itself, and looking forward to seeing what round 14 is going to hold for Silver here. Of course, only 3 rounds remain after this one. USA, Brazil, and Imola, I believe, are the last tracks then of the season, then of season 10 of ALR season 7 for Silver. But it's been pretty epic stuff indeed so far, and thank you very much to everybody who has joined us along this merry route to the 10th season. So good stuff indeed. Here comes Craig R around the spoon curve, then the final spoon curve. There's plenty of spoons around this circuit, and hopefully nobody spoons it around this around their qualifying lap and around the race as well. Then here comes Craig R. There's a car in front of us, though, needs to be getting out of the way very soon, as they do so indeed. As here comes Craig R through the hairpin now as well. We saw a bit of a crash there between Lance Stroll and Daniel Ricciardo then in the actual race then on Sunday morning that was. But no such shenanigans then going on hopefully here tonight then in Silver. Craig R sets the time, sets his time, sets the pace then 31.9 then to beat for the first timing sheet, that is. Let's have a look and see what Nameless is up to. Nameless reserving tonight here in the Alpha Tauri in place of TK. Here he comes up to the line then. It's a 33.1 then, but I don't think that's a representative time for the Alpha Tauri driver. Let's see what Kamara Racer can do. Kamara Racer up to the line, racing up to the line then. It is pole position for the time being. It's a 31.9 as well, then just 0.02 of a second ahead of Craig R. Puts himself up in the top of the standings as it is at the moment. But Vessia might have something to say about that as well. Vessia then in the other Alfa Romeo then coming up to the line. What can he do? It's a 31.7 then from the other second Alfa Romeo then. Good stuff indeed. Then we've got another. That's Mumford just starting a lap then, isn't it? So he's not going to be crossing the line in anger just yet. Then here comes Dopey Lemons and he's going to be crossing the line in anger. Let's see what the Williams driver can do. It's a 32.2 then for the time being. Then puts himself P4 as it stands. Then good stuff indeed. We've got another Ferrari then of Mags then up into P2, a 31.7 for him as well. Then P2 then for the driver who's leading the championship here tonight. And looking strong in qualifying once again. Then Sweet MP then 32.7 then for the McLaren, then puts himself into P6 for the time being then. Good stuff indeed. Mr. Elite then, I think, just going to cross the line then to finish off his first flying lap here into the final quarter then for the Mercedes driver. Not had the best of luck this season then, but hopefully can turn it around then in the final few races then. Into P6 then, 32.2 for the Mercedes. Good stuff indeed. We've got Dopey. No, we've got Potstuff, sorry, crossing the line. 31.7 then from Potstuff, then another 31.7 then, but he's put himself ahead of the Alfa Romeo then of Vessia and the Ferrari of Mags into P1, then Potstuff then into P1 with the 31.72221, that is. Blimey, there's too many numbers there, I can't count. Blimey. Good stuff indeed so far. Nameless has gone faster still with the 31.4, looking to set the pace then in China here tonight then in the AlphaTauri. Good stuff indeed, great pace there from the AlphaTauri reserve driver, and looking strong then in his first outing as well. Then into the pits comes Kamara Racer, then he has called it a day then after his first run. Then a few drivers, they're coming back to the pit lane there, but a few drivers out on track still as well. Let's have a look and see who is out on track as well. Hassel then reserving tonight in place of somebody, Ultimate Beast I think it is. Mumford up into P3, then a fantastic result last week then from Mumford. Then he is into the podium places already then in the qualifying, that is, and looking strong once again then is Mumford in the AlphaTauri. Then good stuff indeed then for Mumford into P3 as it stands. Then both the AlphaTauris looking strong here in qualifying. R2 then into P10, 31.2.4 for him. So we're going to be dropping down the order unfortunately for him. Hassel up into P8, then with 32.1 for the Red Bull car. Good stuff indeed so far, as yeah, it's looking lively out there on track, isn't it? As Junior's on 32.3, then puts himself ahead of his teammate, then into P11 as it stands. Then Gordo is on track and coming through into Sector 3, Purple in Sector 2, which is promising stuff indeed. Then this is where it's gets a bit tricky this quarter, as trying to negotiate it at speed, as I think he's getting a nice little tow there from his teammate of Mystery. Then a great teamwork indeed there down at Mercedes. And here comes Gordon then down the back straight then with some DRS, with some extra tow then from his teammate as we go flying into the hairpin. And Mr. Elite has gone straight on there. I think he needs to read the track map a bit more, but maybe he was just getting out of the way then of his teammate who is flying through now into the final corner. Let's see what Gordo can do then on his first attempt here in qualifying here tonight. Up to the line then, what's it going to be then for the Mercedes driver? It's a 31.5 then, puts himself P3 ahead of Potstuff as well. Good stuff indeed. And Fangio then has jumped up to P1. I've missed that completely, sorry Fangio. Up into 31.3 then for the Williams driver. Great stuff indeed, ahead of Nameless now as well on the front row, and in pole position then as it stands with 10 minutes to go here in qualifying. And breathe. So far so good then out on track. It's been pretty intense already in qualifying. Hopefully they can keep it up for the race. Mumford I think just cruising back to the pit lane. There's a Red Bull car I think of Hassel then coming back to the pits as well. So they have both finished their first flying laps. They're coming back into the box then to reset and go again then in this next phase of the qualifying. 10 minutes left, like I said, of the session. There's still time to get back out on track then, and we will see what the drivers can do then. Nigel then is on track and he is looking to try and turn back around his form as Ginner is retired from the session. He's retired in the pit entry as well. Then Ginner has had a smash then in the pit entry. We saw Keza have an issue there as well in the race last night in gold. But Reflection is retired in the pit then, I think, then. So Reflection then not taking part in qualifying, unfortunately, for the Alpine driver. Then he's not having a great time in the garage, but he is stuck in the garage now as well. P18 at best then for him. Same for Jenner as well, P13 at best. And then there's a problem then for Jenner then into the pit entry. Then he's cost himself his place taking part in the rest of this qualifying session and could be displaced by drivers then improving behind him. And that is going to be very bad indeed then for the Aston Martin driver. I'm not quite sure what happened. We'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see if he's going to enlighten us in the comment section as well. But there we go then. So far it has been a very intense qualifying as well. But unfortunately, he's not going to take any more part in it because he's put his car into the pit wall, I think. Or pit entry wall, I should say. Then, so unfortunately for Ginner, then that is him. Dylan has rejoined the session. I didn't know Dylan has got himself back in. Hopefully, fingers crossed, he can keep himself in the session this time as well. He's only got 9 minutes left of the session to set himself a time on the board as well. Then here we go. Then for Nigel, then setting off on his lap. Then we'll come back to Nigel, I think, actually, because we've got some more action further up ahead. We've got Kamara Racer. Then we've got Mags as well. Then we've got Kamara Racer coming through Sector 2 now. Let's see what the Alfa Romeo driver can do with it. Can he improve then on his current 31.9 that he set at the very beginning of the session, of course. Into Sector 3 we go, then flying through then into the spoon curve of Sector 3. We can't quite see because the camera's not following the car. Yes, it is now, and now we go on to the back straight then, of course. 2 DRS zones around this circuit, then 2 detection zones as well then. One just before the spoon then of Sector 3 onto this back straight here, and then we've got another one just before the final turn then onto the main DRS straight as well, main straight I should say, the pit straight, I should say, as that is that. Then we've got 2 DRS zones around here, and that's what they are. That's where they are as well. Into the pits comes Kamara. He's abandoned his time, and he's crashed into the pit entry as well, just like Jinner has done then. And we, oh my goodness me, that car jumping about all over the place then. And unfortunately, we caught that one on stream, which is I'm very sorry to Kamara Racer, but yes, a bit of a clout with the wall, let's say. And unfortunately, he is out of qualifying then, as Mags has just pulled over to the side as well. Then I think he's abandoned his time as well on his second attempt here as well. So we'll have to come back to somebody else then. Unfortunately, both Kamara and Mags then have had some sort of issues then on their laps. One for Kamara Racer, a bit terminal, unfortunately, then in qualifying. So that is bad news indeed then for Kamara Racer. Then he's not going to be starting any higher than P8. Unless other drivers behind him can't improve, then he will be P8 as well then. But we'll have to wait and see. I think there's going to be some improvements as well. As we go down the back straight, then Vess here, I think, is going to cross the line. Yes, he is. Coming through. No, he's coming back in the pit lane as well then. So everybody seems to be abandoning their second attempt here in qualifying. Not quite sure why then. 7 minutes left of the session then, as we go through the hairpin for Dopey Lemons and into P12 as it stands. Let's see if he can improve then on that 32.2 that he's set so far. Then his first and only time on the board then. But can he improve? Yes, he can, to a 32.0. Puts himself into the top 10 then. Good stuff indeed. We have got a McLaren out on track. It is not, so we repeat, it's Dylan then starting a lap, then so starting off a lap, I should say then. So hopefully Dylan can stay in the car this time and get himself through the rest of the lap as well. Then at least get himself a time on the board then before we run out in 6 minutes time. Then we'll be into the race in 6 minutes time then, and looking forward to what's going to unfold then. 28 laps around this circuit as well. Then Gordo has said, surprised myself at the time then. Thanks for Mr. Elite as well. Mr. Elite, there was a fantastic tow there down the back straight here to give him give Gordo then a nice little tow then into the hairpin then, and hopefully gain him a bit of time as well, and that was the idea anyway. Here comes Nameless then, trying to improve then on a 31.4 then. Can he get himself a 10th.5 then to get himself back on pole position? Here comes the AlphaTauri driver then. It is up to the line. It is a pole position then for the AlphaTauri, then a 31.0 then from Nameless, and looking strong here in China as well then. Great stuff indeed then. Both the Red Bulls then are flying through. I'm not quite sure if the I'm not quite sure. As Irvine is back in the pit lane, then Hassau is finishing off a lap, and Hassau up into P4 with a 31.6. Then good stuff indeed from the Red Bull reserve as well. Then both the reserves of Nameless and Hassau then doing a good job here in qualifying as it stands. Then Craig Garner has unfortunately invalidated somewhere in the first sector. Then that is him done and dusted on his second attempt. Then Swim Repeat is flying through, but I think he has improved then to P11, but unfortunately I don't think he's going to be able to improve on this next lap. He's going to come back to the pit lane now, I think. I would believe that is. Craig Arden is, unfortunately, he has done and dusted in this lap, on this lap that is. He has not been able to get himself through the first sector validly, I should say, as Dylan puts himself up into P2 then with a 31.164. Then he is half a tenth away then from pole position as it stands then on his first lap here in qualifying as well, then looking strong then in the McLaren. Good stuff indeed. And Serious Runner said you turned left there to Kamara Racer. I think Kamara is probably aware of that, especially now. But unfortunately, we saw that incident. That we've had two incidents there already then in qualifying. That it was Jinner then down in P17 now, unfortunately, who had a big crash there. We didn't see it on stream, but we did see Kamaro's on stream, unfortunately, for Kamaro. So he is probably not going to be too happy with me then, unfortunately. But he is unfortunately out of the qualifying, that is. Hopefully he can bounce back then in the race. Then usually we see Kamaro have a very good qualifying and then a very difficult race. Hopefully it's roles reversed this tonight, I should say, and he can have a difficult qualifying, but bounce back then in the Grand Prix itself then, and get some points on the board then for the Alfa Romeo team. Then of course Vessia then currently holding P8 then in the Alfa Romeo. Then he's yet to go back out again for his third attempt here in qualifying. Potstuff then is back out on circuit as well. Then Potstuff then coming back to the pit lane. Hopefully he can get himself into the box then without crashing into the wall. Yes, he can. Good stuff indeed. Dylan coming back to the pits as well then after setting his first and only time so far in this session. Then a 31.1 though is not something to scoff at then in his only attempt in qualifying so far. Good stuff indeed. Then Fandra is on a lap then, but Craigar is further along. So we'll have a look and see what Craigar is up to here as Farf back in the pit lane. And unfortunately for Farf then, he has decided to abandon his first and only attempt so far. Craigar then is always losing the back end, then going through the spoon curve. They're trying to keep that Ferrari pointed in the right direction. Then so far he's kept it pointing in the right direction, which is good stuff indeed. Evening all from Rocket Lisa as well then, and evening to Serious Mushroom as well. Good stuff indeed. And here comes Craig then flying down to the hairpin, then in the Ferrari. Let's see what he can do then on his second attempt. I think it's his second attempt. I'm not quite sure. As we've got 3 minutes left of the qualifying session here as well. Hassel's retired in the pit lane. He's not going to be starting any higher than P6. Then Craig is back in the pits, and he is very calmly and slowly come back into the pit lane as well. I think very worried that he might repeat the feat then of the Alfa Romeo then of Kamara then and the Aston Martin of Gillian. Then both of them have had unfortunate incidents and into the pit entry, which is why they have retired from the session. Then Hassel is retired in the pit lane. He is not going to be able to improve on a 31.6 then for the Red Bull car, and unfortunately Reflection has lost his car keys somewhere in the garage as well then, so he's not going to be starting he's not going to be starting in qualifying. He's going to be starting from P20 then in this race then, which is unfortunate for Reflection as well. But there we go then, that is the situation then in the qualifying so far. Still we've got time to get ourselves back out there for one more flying lap here. There's lots of drivers then out on their outlaps as well. Then here comes Fangio. Then Fangio is on a lap, and there's a bit of traffic in front of him as well. He needs to make sure that traffic needs to make sure they get out of the way then of this Williams car. Flying into the hairpin now of Sector 2, then going round the outside then of a Mercedes, then just getting out of the way, which is good stuff indeed then. But there's still a McLaren ahead of us as well, and to try and get himself past as well. As oh my goodness me, then that McLaren then, oh my goodness me, that McLaren then is blimey, what has happened there? And Craig has retired, I think, in the pit lane, and I'm not quite sure, was it Dylan? No, it wasn't Dylan. Then it was the other McLaren, I think it was Sweet MJP then, and Fangio has lost his front wing completely. Then I think Fangio then is going to have to abandon his qualifying here as well, unfortunately then for the Williams car. And that was severe wing damage indeed then for severe collision indeed as well then for Fangio. And unfortunately, I think that's his qualifying done and dusted. And that McLaren of Sweet MJP did not get out of the way there, did he? In that sector two complex of corners. And unfortunately, that has cost Fangio his attempt then to go again in qualifying here, which is a big shame indeed. Then he just needs to make sure he gets out of the way then of drivers then starting off their flying laps as well here, because Fangio then is going to be in danger then, I think, of getting in the way of more people as well then, to be fair. But here we go then into the hairpin now. But oh goodness me, then that is not good news then for Fangio. Then he's had an issue then in qualifying with Sweet P. Then they've come together, and I think Fangio then is going to be very upset with that. Hopefully he can keep it in together then into the, oh goodness me, as almost to the wall then as well then. But blimey, that is bad news indeed then for Fangio. Then unfortunately he is back in the pit lane. He is not going to take part in qualifying anymore after that collision then with the back of the McLaren as well then. Fangio can do a 130, says Serious Russian, and I'm not quite sure what a 130 is, to be fair, but it sounds pretty good. There we go then. Dopey Lemons is flying down the back straight. Then he is going to finish off the next flying laps here in qualifying. The first of the drivers then to finish off their flying laps, I should say, into the hairpin now as well. Then for the Williams car, can he get himself improvement on the P14 as it stands? Then into the final corner. Up to the line, then let's see what the Williams can do. Can he improve? Can he get himself far out the order? Yes, he can. It's P6 then from Dopey Lemons, a 31.609, and that is a great improvement indeed. Well done to him. Mumford, though, is looking to try and take that place back. Then he's got to get himself a tenth and a bit then to get himself ahead of Dopey Lemons. Then can he get himself even further up the order? Then here comes the AlphaTauri then up to the line. What's it going to be? It's P3 again then for Mumford. 31.164, same time as Dylan exactly, but of course he set the lap time after Dylan has already set that time as well then, so that is why he is behind on the timing sheets. That is, here comes Glocks though. Glocks up into the 30.7, then a fantastic pole time as it stands. Then let's see what Nameless can do. Can he take that place back? Then here comes Nameless up to the line, and it's not good enough. Then here comes Dylan as well. Then it looks like Mags, the championship leader, is going to take the pole position here in China. It's going to be strong qualifying once again then from the Ferrari driver. And then here comes Dylan though. Can Dylan take it away? Not quite. Then he stays in the 31s, and it's P2 for the McLaren. But Mags then with a fantastic qualifying. We've seen a few more drivers jump up the order as well there, but fantastic qualifying. We'll run through the classifications. He's completely missed them, to be fair, but what a lap then from Mags then to take P2. And Blimey, I'm running out of breath in the qualifying, so this is going to be great for the race, isn't it? Max then takes P2, a great qualifying from the championship leader, then to put himself on pole position then for the Chinese Grand Prix. Dylan in P2 in the standings as well, then looking to try and challenge the Ferrari then for some big points then. Nameless in P3, a great qualifying from him. Mumford in P4, great stuff indeed. Second row lockout then for the AlphaTauris. Fangio P5 after having to abandon his final run then with Sweet P getting in the way in Sector 2, then R2 beat P6, Gordo P7, Vessier in P8, Potstaff in P9, Dopey Lemons rounds off the top 10, Hassau in P11, then Sweet P12, Nigel P13, Irvine P14, Mr. Elite P15, Camaro P16, Craig R P17, Jinner P18, then Farf in P19, and unfortunately for reflection then didn't get himself a time on the board in P20. Great stuff indeed. Then we'll be back very shortly.
BoxBox Hub is an absolute essential for any Formula One fan, and the entire app with new widgets, statistics, localized race schedules, and countdowns, you name it. They even have support for Apple's new live activities feature with real-time updates during a race right on the lock screen, and honestly, some of the best looking widgets I've seen.
Welcome back. Right then, we are ready to get ourselves started then for the Chinese Grand Prix, and looking forward to this one. It's going to be entertaining to say the least then, and like I said, after that qualifying, it's going to be, if it holds up anything like that, it is going to be a pretty good race indeed. 28 laps around here then, as we get ourselves away on the formation lap then to get ourselves set then on the grid for the start of those 28 laps here as well. And there we go then. Oh dear, there's some bad words in the comment section about I think the incident in between Fangio and Sweet in the qualifying then at that final last couple of minutes then of that qualifying as well. But that will be dealt with after the race, no doubt then. But we will have to wait to see how it's going to unfold then in the race itself. Then of course we've got a combination then of medium compound tyres and hard compound tyres on the grid then. Majority it looks like going for the hard compounds then as well. We've got medium compound tyres with Dylan, Nameless in P3 then, so those two looking for a fast start as well. R2 beat then in the Aston Martin, P6 on the medium compound tyres, same for Dopey Lemons in P10 in the Williams, Nigel on the mediums in P13 in the Haas, and then we've got Camaro and Craig R P16 and P17 respectively then on the medium compound tyres. Everybody else is on the hard compound tyres, so they will be looking to go longer in the first stint and hopefully be faster in the final stint or final stage of the Grand Prix. But we have to wait and see how it's going to unfold is the question. Then of course it's the age-old question. There's a Mercedes I think going very wide then at the penultimate, not penultimate corner, then the penultimate to the penultimate corner. But there we are then. Unfortunately for the Mercedes, he's got himself sorted now. Good stuff indeed. Right then, of course, the formation lap then almost drawing to a close. Then the drivers in the background just starting to warm up their compound of tyres, their choice of tyres, I should say, then as we get ourselves ready to line up on the grid then for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. And looking forward to this one. Good luck all then from Serious Mushroom as well then in the comment section. Looking forward to this race indeed. It looks nice and dry for the start of the race as well. Of course we had a nice dry start then for the gold race last night before it started pouring with rain then only about a third of the way in. So hopefully history doesn't repeat itself then, and we have a nice dry race then to the finish line. But let's have a look and see as we get ourselves lined up then on the grid then for the start of the Chinese Grand Prix. Just waiting for everyone to filter into their grid spots here, and we can get cracking then for the Chinese Grand Prix in just a moment's time. Looking forward to this one. Like I said, it's going to be an exciting one indeed here in Shanghai. So we are getting ourselves lined up on the grid then. I think we're all ready. Yes, we are. I think we're ready then. 5 red lights coming on here in China. The 5 red lights are on then. The 5 red lights are off then. And away we go. Here in China then for the 14th round of the season then of Silver Season 7 then. Great start from Dylan then on the medium compound tires, looking to maximise the pace then on those medium compounds then into turn 1. He's got the inside then, around the outside goes Max then. He's dropped down to P2 though, unfortunately for him. We'll switch to the tyre position changes then, as here we go then through turns 2 and 3 then, and looks like Mumford is trying to put the pressure on the Ferrari as well then into the spoons and corners and whatnots as well. Down the side into the hairpin. Is he going to think about it? Not quite then. There's Alpha Tauri then going miles wide then at the exit then, and he's trying to get himself back in the fight then. R2B up into P4. A great start then for the Aston Martin driver then. Yellow flags down in the background. Yellow flags is an issue then down in the background. What's happened then between Craig R? No, it's not Craig R. It's Nameless who's had an issue then in sector 2 somewhere. He's gone over the curbs. I think then he's trying to get himself back started. He's got himself back started, but he needs to get himself on the grey stuff, not the green stuff. But unfortunately, as Reflection's had an issue as well somewhere, because he has dropped down the field. Then unfortunately for Reflection, then he's had a very slow start. Then has the Alpine. I'm not quite sure what's happened to him then as well. Farf and Craig R then's battling away then through into sector 3. That is not an overtaking spot there. And Craig R's gone over the curbs as well. Then Craig R trying to get himself back onto the circuit as well. Then it seems like a few drivers then having a few escapades out there as it stands. Then Fanjo's got himself past R2B now and up into P4 then down towards the hairpin. Heavy braking zone here once again. Then can everyone keep themselves in check as we go through there? No Lance Stroll movements then, please. As Gordo trying to go around the outside then of R2B. Then he has got the position, I think. Has he? Yes, he has. Or not. I'm not quite sure. Yes, he has there. Up into P5 then for Gordo. Dylan sets the fastest lap of the race. He's got himself a nice gap already then. 1.3 seconds then for the race leader over Mags. And of course on the medium compound tyres, Dylan is flying out there as well. Then into the pits comes Irvine. He's had an issue somewhere as Irvine. Then unfortunately for the Red Bull car, then he's coming back into the pit lane for the first time in this race. The first pit stopper of this Grand Prix. Then Swing Repeat trying to go around the inside then of the Williams at Dopey. And there's contact between the two of them. I think just a bit of rubbing is racing then, as Irvine's got a front wing change then for that Red Bull car. Unfortunately for him, then he's dropping down the places then, unfortunately for him as well. Nameless and Reflection have had an issue earlier on in the first lap as well then somewhere, because they've dropped down the field as well quite a bit then. Unfortunately, Reflection was started in P20, but he's gained a place, but he's not had a great start still nonetheless, unfortunately for the Alpine car. Looking to turn that around then in the rest of the race. Then Deltas need to sort themselves out then, because they're not 1.5 minutes behind each other. They are right behind each other then as we go down towards sector 3. Then Dylan has got a 1.3 second gap then. Of course he's trying to extend that gap as quickly as possible then, because DRS of course will be available then at the end of lap 3, or at the beginning of lap 3 really, but there's no DRS detection points until the end of lap 3. So there we go then. We go down the back straight once again. Then Fanjo then is all over the back then of Mumford then in towards the hairpin. Then Fanjo looking to get a recover in this race after the qualifying incident. Then they could have put him a bit higher than in the order then for the start of the Grand Prix itself. But he's on the hard compound tyres and looking to get himself into a few places as well. Then Kamara Racers lost out then to Farf into the hairpin as well. Then Farf up 4 places now. Same for Jinner as well. Jinner's had a good start then in P14 now, all over the back of Mr. Elite here as well, as we go into lap 3 now onto the main straight once again. Then Vess here and R2B then switching places. Then Vess here trying to go around the outside of the Aston Martin then, as we got R2B and Vess here. Then you can have multiple lines through that first couple of corners then, and R2B has held on to the place I think then just about then through turns 2 and 3. Then yes, he has done. Oh dear, he's losing the back end. Then that could invite Vess here then to go for the move. Then down towards the hairpin here is sector 2, but still ahead then for the Aston Martin as it stands. And now from there then diving down the inside then on those hard compound tyres. He's got the position then, has Vess here up into P6. Then R2B trying to switch back in, but unfortunately doesn't have the traction then to get himself back ahead then off the Alfa Romeo. Then Vess here up into P6, then gaining 2 places then off the start. Then far from Mr. Elite, then switching places as well. Then Mr. Elite has got himself a bit of a battle then with the Haas car. Far then trying to get himself up the order then after that difficult qualifying then as well for the Haas team. Unfortunately for the other, for the other Haas car. Then Nigel on the medium compound tyres. Then he's up into P9 now and looking good at the moment into the points pair positions now for one of the Haases. Of course, Favre trying to get himself up there as well. Then the grid is very close indeed. Look at the timing sheets then as we go through onto the back straight. And apart from Dylan, who's 1.7 seconds ahead, then everybody down to P17 is within DRS range. And they've got DRS down this back straight as well. Then here comes Fanjo, here comes Mumford. Then Mags has dropped off the back of Dylan by almost 2 seconds now as well. Of course, those hard compound tyres not in his favour. Here comes Israelite. Then he's got himself past. There's an Ferrari then flying off the circuit then at the hairpin as well. He's got himself a bit of a problem then for for Craig R, then I think that was. Going very deep then into the hairpin, then he's lost out. Then he's lost out to Kamara Racer as well, who's carried on then into P15. Craig R then has got himself back underway then, but Nameless now all over the back of the Ferrari car as well. Then Favre's got himself back past Mr. Elite as these two resume their battle then into turn 1 and 2. Around the outside goes the Mercedes, but Favre I think has got the move covered off then into turns 3. Blimey, it's action-packed out here already. Like I was saying in qualifying, it's, oh dear, Mr. Elite trying to keep that back end in check as well. Then as he's trying to lose the back end, I think, trying to put the power down a bit too early then as well. Into the hairpin we go then. Kamara Racer looking to line up a move then on Jenna, but not quite. He stays behind for the time being as well. Then we'll switch back to the tyre compounds to see what tyres everyone's on. Then we can see what the race leader is on. He's on medium compound tyres. He's got a nice gap already then to those on the hard compound tyres. And I think there's Nigel then trying to go for a move on pot stuff then into sector 2. Not an overtaking position, not unusual overtaking position, I should say, but he's got the move done there up into P8 then as well. Very nice indeed then, and very fair indeed from Potstuff as well then, who was unfortunately he was looking strong in qualifying, but he had not the best end to that qualifying, as Nigel then trying to lose the back end through the spoon curve, and that could entice Potstuff to go back for a move then onto the back straight. Then here we go then, DRS is going to be enabled then for the Alpine, but he's already side by side before the DRS zone. And I think these two are going to be battling away then side by side for the remainder of the Grand Prix. Because Nigel then flashing away then with the ERS light. And there is a Williams then of Dopey Lemons to go down the inside of Hassel then into P10. Is he just about? They're going to still side by side between the two of them then as we go into the final quarter. Then Dopey Lemons has to yield then, but oh dear, Hassel's had an issue then on the exit as well. Then here comes Dopey Lemons once again then on the DRS line down to the onto the traction zone as we go into turn 1. There's an Hass and an Alpine battling away, then the Hass going down the inside, then ERS light flashing away then for Nigel. Then here comes the Red Bull, then he's going to have the outside, no, he's going to have the inside next, but unfortunately loses out then to the Williams of Dopey Lemons. Goodness gracious me, I can't keep up with this race. It's been absolutely fantastic. Nigel out of hers already then to Sirius Rushman. Yes, we've seen that one already. Unfortunately, he's 2 seconds back off the of a P7 of R2B as it stands as well. Then trying to fight with Potstuff then has cost him a lot of time indeed. He's now got himself up on the power then very quickly indeed. 1.3 seconds now. He's gained quite a lot of time then into sector 2 already. Then Farf and Speed Repeat then battling away. And then Farf now ahead of the McLaren, I think, just about. Yes, he is. Good stuff so far then. Blimey, it has been action-packed so far then. Reflection and Craig are then catching up to the pack as well. Then Nameless is bringing them with them as well. Then Irvine unfortunately has had to make an early stop then. Hopefully he can get himself back in this race at a later date then, at a later stage. Then Kamara Racer and Gina then battling away. Then Kamara Racer is up into P15. There we are. And he's ahead now of the Aston Martin. But will that Aston Martin come back in and down the back straight? I think he might have cost himself that DRS then with the Alfa Romeo. We'll have to wait and see that he's on the medium compound tyres. He's looking to go quick at this stage. And Potstuff has got himself quickly ahead of Nigel. And into the hairpin we go. Then Nigel down to P9. Here comes Kamara and Jenna then side by side as we go into the hairpin. Unfortunately, there's contact between the two of them. And Fanjo. Not Fanjo either. It's Kamara who's been nudged off the circuit slightly there then from Jenna. I'm not quite sure what Jenna is playing at there, to be honest, because he doesn't need to do that. He has the DRS to just fly through then. And he takes the place then anyway. But yeah, unfortunately, they've lost a lot of time then with that battling then down to P15 and Hassau and Farf then switching places then through turns 1 and 2, and Hassau has got the inside then, but Farf has got the outside. He's got the traction as well. He's up into P11 now, trying to chase down that final points pair position as well then very soon indeed. And there comes a McLaren down the inside of Hassau as well. Then here comes 300p then into the hairpin. Then they're going to go through side by side. And Hassel then on the traction has got the ability to then get himself back ahead then of the McLaren as well. Good stuff indeed so far. Good battling out there as well. 1.8 seconds the lead in the favour of the McLaren of Dylan then, who is there he is into sector 3 we go now for the McLaren. Looking strong out there indeed at this stage, of course, but of course he is on the more favourable tyre, I would imagine, at this part of the race. So we might see that Mags, Mumford, Fanjo and Gorda then start to catch up in the next few minutes or so. Nameless has got himself back past Kamara Racer then into the hairpin then of sector 3. And we've got more action ahead of us as well. Fanjo's got himself past Mumford as he gets into the hairpin we go then, and Fanjo is ahead now of the AlphaTauri then. Has he? Yes, he's got the move done. And he's now all over the back then of Mags then in P2 then, an all-Irish all-Irish top 3 as it stands then. That's interesting stuff. Hassau and 300p then. Oh my goodness me, there's contact between the Red Bull car and the McLaren. And goodness me, that is not what you want to see then out on track as well. Then, of course, we've seen a few issues out there already. As here comes Swindon then with some DRS. They're down towards turn 1. Then can he get the move then on the Red Bull car then into the first turn? He's got the move around the outside. Then can he hold it around the outside is the question then. And the McLaren now ahead of the Red Bull then into turns 2 and 3. And he has got the position then up into a P12 now for him. Junior is being passed by Nameless then into the, I think, onto the main straight then. And that's why the AlphaTauri's got himself ahead now of the Aston Martin. And now trying to chase down the top 14. But blimey, that was action-packed indeed, wasn't it? To say the least there. Good stuff indeed. Mr. Elite's joined the fight as well then for this P12 position. Then there's 2 seconds between them and the Hasses of Farf and Nigel as it stands. But so far so good then out in front. 2 seconds now. The gap then it's being held quite steady then from Dylan's point of view, trying to keep that gap as far away as possible then for the Ferrari. Of course, the championship leader then is Max, and Dylan would like to take that win here, of course, tonight then, because that would of course promote him ahead. Potentially, I think it might be actually potentially ahead of Max in the championship standings, and very tight between the top 2. As it stands as well then, so far so good then. Let's have a look and see what's up to Nigel then. There's not sure what's going on there, but there's all sorts of weaving around then, I think, as Nigel's got the position ahead of the Williams of Dopey Lemons, and here comes the other Haas of Farf then into the hairpin. And there's contact between the Williams and the Haas then, and Farf into the back of the Williams car then. Unfortunately not a repeat, or fortunately not a repeat then of the Stroll Ricardo incident. Which is thankful. Oh dear, Dopey Lemons then has had a bit of a squirrely moment then out to the final corner then. That could open the door then for Farf to try and make a move then. DRS available then for the Williams car to defend then from Farf into turn 1 then. He's in a bit of a sandwich now with the 2 Haas cars as we go through into turn 2 as well. Then Kamara Racer is in the pit lane. And that is a very early stop indeed then. 8 laps completed then. Will he go on to a set of hard compound tires? Can he get to the end on those hard compound tires is the other question. We will wait and see then into the box then. Here comes Irvine then onto the lap 8, I should say, and then we're trying to figure out what lap we're on. To be fair, we've been flying through so far so good then out here. Irvine then up into P19. Of course, Kamara has pitted now onto a set of hard compound tires. Can he get those hard compound tires to the end of the Grand Prix? He's going to have to do 21 laps on those hards. It is probably doable, but it might be a bit of a stretch then towards the end of the race. We will wait and see. So far so good out here as well then, as we go through into the spoon curve, as Sirius Brushman said that they've been told off. I'm not quite sure if they have or not, to be fair. But now Fandra then is lining up a move then for P2. Here he comes then on the back of the championship leader then of Mags into P2. He goes then, he takes the position then away from his fellow Irishman then, and down into the hairpin then, as we got yellow flags. Yellow flag is for an Alpine then of Reflection. Reflection's off then at the spoon curve. Then he's coming back on now. He's got himself back on as well then. So good stuff indeed. Then unfortunately Reflection then a casualty of the spoon curve then at sector 3, I think then, as oh dear, Hassel then losing traction as well. Then that might open the door then for Mr. Elite as well to go down the inside into the final corner. Yes, it will. But Hassel holds it just about then round the outside. I think you might have got a warning then for the track limits there as well. Then Dopey Lemons now ahead of Nigel into the spoons of turns 2 and 3, and down the inside. No, it's going to be the inside for Nigel then into turn 3. Then around the outside goes Dopey Lemons, but unfortunately, oh my goodness me, they're both of them struggling on the traction. And almost having a bit of a snake war then. I don't know what that snake war is, to be fair, but there you go then. If you want to have a snake war, that's what it is, I think. But I think we're going to have to get away from that as quickly as possible. But there we are then. Swinton has held on to P2 for the time being at 4 seconds. Now the gap between P12 of Swinton and the top 11. As it stands, Hassel's got himself, Mr. Elite's got himself ahead of Hassel then for the time being, but these two still in the battle then with Sweet 100p then for that P12 position. Then Mr. Elite all over the back then of the McLaren as we go through into sector 2. Reflection has recovered then, but unfortunately has lost a lot of time then after that spin in sector 3. Big shame then for Reflection, and unfortunately not having a great time out on track as it stands then. Not Mr. Elite, Kamara Racer then has pitted the first of the potential scheduled stops out there as well. We'll have to wait and see how it's going to fare for Kamara Racer then, but he could get a nice undercut here on his fellow rivals ahead of him when their tyres start to drop off then, as we've got moves then for Gordo into the hairpin, then trying to get himself past Mumford. He's up into P4 now, as we've got, I think, Vessia then going past R2 Beat once again then then these two carrying on their battle then for P6 as it stands. Craig R and Jinner are then switching places, then Craig R then down the outside into the hairpin. And where is Jinner going to be then? Jinner is on the inside still. He's got the position, I think, still. Has he? No, Craig R on traction then has got himself ahead now into... Oh, no, he's not. Oh, dear. Jinner's in the pit lane then. So Jinner has gone. Oh, dear. That's very... Oh, my goodness me. It was almost a repeat then of his qualifying performance. And into the box he goes, and he's calling it a day then on the hard compound tyres. Mr. Elite's got himself past then McLaren and Sweden P then into the first turn then, and now has got the momentum then into P12. Then goes the Mercedes, then trying to carry on then that pace he's got then onto the medium compound tyres then for Jinner. Then he's calling it a day on the hards already and going onto the medium compound tyres. Interesting call there, I should say, as Irvine will go flying past then into turn 1, then up into P18 now for Irvine, but hopefully he can get himself back in this race, like I said, recovering in this Grand Prix. Here comes Kamara Racer then, of course, the first of the scheduled stoppers, and he's looking to go for a very long stint indeed on those hard compound tyres then to the end of this Grand Prix here as well. Then out in front now, Fander's got himself a 1.5 second gap then to the race leader. Then that gap has come down then to Dylan. Gap is coming down to Dylan then as Fander's going to make a run for that win now, says Sirius Mutton in the comment section. I think he's correct then, because the gap now is coming down to the McLaren. Then of course those medium compound tyres are going to wear out a bit quicker than the hard compound tyres on the Williams, so they might I think they might have reached a crossover point already then, to be fair. It could be close indeed between which tyre is actually the fastest now out on track. Then here comes Nigel down the inside then of the Williams of Dopey Lemons. There's contact with Farf as well then, and Farf then trying to get himself through then as well then into the final turn. Then he has got himself through. Then Dopey Lemons is coming in the pit lane, same for Nigel as well then, so both, oh dear, Nigel had an issue then trying to get himself into the box as well. Then it seems like a lot of drivers then are trying to fly into the pit lane a bit too quickly out there, and that is causing them a few issues then, just about keeping it within stretch and within reach, I should say. Then as we've got a lot of action then going out on track then. Hassan's back past Jinner then, back past 300p as well then. No, they're not then, they're still battling away then side by side through turns 2 and 3, and they're going through side by side as well. 300p then has gone out wide, then he's lost a bit of traction as well. Then Hassan's back through and up into P11 as well here. Nigel then into the pits, and he's on the set of hard compound tyres. Dopey Lemons is pit for medium compound tyres. Jinner has carried on. Of course, Jinner has pitted very early, then off the hards, then onto the mediums. I think that's a bit too early then for Jinner, unfortunately then for him. He's got himself past Mr. Irvine, past Irvine then into P18 then for the time being. Then 6 seconds back then is Kamara Racer, who is just having a bit of a lonely race at the moment there. It might get a bit spicy later on then when he gets himself involved then with the undercut onto those fresh hard compound tyres. 1.2 seconds now the gap in the lead. Then it's not DRS range just yet then, but it's getting closer and closer then for Fanjo. Max is being pulled along nicely as well in this battle. Then the top 3 are in the fight then. ERS light flashing away then for the Williams car then of Fanjo. He's used all the battery, all the deployment then to try and catch up to the race leader of Dylan. As it stands then, he is 1.3 seconds away. Oh, he's actually 3/10 away then from the DRS, that is, but he's 1.3 seconds away from the race lead. Yellow flags then, yellow flags for Irvine. Where's he gone? He's gone somewhere in sector 2. Safety car has been deployed, and that is not good news then for some drivers. It's going to be great news indeed for some other drivers as well then, but unfortunately for Irvine, he's lost the car then in sector 2. Nameless and Sweet Repeat then are switching places then under the safety car, which is what you don't want to do. But there we go, then into the pits comes Vessia, then R2P as well, then Pot Stuff in P8, then Farf in P9, then Irvine unfortunately is out of the race, then he's left the session as well. I think unfortunate for Irvine then. He was pushing on then, but he's unfortunately had an incident then, which has caused the safety car, I should say, and we are now neutralised then in this race, and until the safety car has bunched everyone back up then, and we can crack on then for the restart of this race then. Nigel then is going to come out behind his teammate of Farf in somewhere. Yes, he is there, right there in front of him actually, then into the first turn. So I think that is it's not worked out amazingly for Nigel then, but I think it's not worked out too badly as well. That Pot's got a drive-through penalty spinning under the safety car. Not quite sure what's happened then for Pot Stuff. Unfortunately then for the Alpine here, that's going to be very costly indeed. So he is going to have to serve that drive-through after the safety car has gone back into the pit lane. And Kamara is also in the pit lane. He is going to have to rejoin the queue now after making that stop as well. But they've all got to adhere to the delta out here, which is going to be good news for the top 5, because they want to make their pit stops, I think, on this lap. and they will be able to get themselves back out in front of the in the order, I should say, then, as they are at the moment, then, depending on any double stacks or any other incidents in the pit lane as well. Then we'll have to wait and see. But so far so good, as yeah, we've got Dylan, they're coming around the hairpin now to get himself into the box, I'm sure. I'm not quite sure anybody's going to carry on out there. I think it's going to be very unwise to carry on, but Dylan is coming in the pit lane from the race lead, then followed by Fandra, then followed by Mags, and followed by Gordo, and followed by Mumford as well. Then Gordo's got a 5-second penalty for a severe collision with Mags then somewhere. And I'm not quite sure what's happened then. Has he got a front wing issue then now with that collision though? But seems like they are serving the pit stop nonetheless then, as he's been held in the pit lane nonetheless. No, he's been teleported now. So blimey, that is that then. Soft compound tyres for the race leader of Dylan, then that is interesting stuff indeed, as they all pile out the pit lane. They're going to be ahead of Vessia, but yes, that is a very strange call then from the race leader then. Dylan in P2 in the standings then is looking to try and fight then, as we've got Jinner and Hassal then switching places then under the safety car, which again is not legal. So there we are then. And yeah, they need to sort themselves out then, because you can't just keep overtaking each other then under the safety car. Where we go, there we are then. So right then, waiting for Kamara Racer and the rest of the field then just to catch up to the safety car queue. Then we're going through into sector 2 now. Potentially, I don't think it will be in this lap then. It might be a bit too early to come in this lap, and it might be in at the end of lap 14. But we'll wait and see then. Depending on what Kamara can catch up to the back of the field. But so far so good then. Not quite sure what's happened between Gordo and Mags then into the pit entry then, but it seemed like Gordo has got himself a 5-second penalty and that'll be added onto his race time unless he makes another pit stop, of course, which means it will serve then. But and unfortunately for Potstuff, he's got a drive-through penalty. That's what the indicator is showing then. So Gordo's got a 5-second penalty for some sort of incident with Mags then into the pit lane, but I don't think it affected Mags or Gordo, to be fair, apart from that 5 seconds that we added onto his time. And then Potstuff picked up a penalty, then a drive-through penalty, and then for speeding under the safety car before he came into the pit lane, unfortunately, as well. And so a bit of a shame then for both Gordo and for Potstuff. Then the first penalties then of the night as well. Then very severe penalties indeed then from Codemasters, but they have dished them out nonetheless. So the safety car is coming in this lap then. What a well, that's a very late call, and Kamara Racer hasn't caught up to the safety car queue here, and that's going to be very bad news indeed for the Alfa Romeo. Then if he can't catch up to the safety car queue as well, then Dylan is going to restart this race, as it's a very late call indeed. Kamara is now onto the back straight, but he's a bit too far back. He can see the train in front of him probably, but he can't get himself into that queue in time, I don't think. But here comes Dylan. Depends how quickly Dylan takes the restart. As yes, he's gone now. I think that yes, he has gone now as well. Then so Kamara Racer is going to be a bit adrift then off this restart as well. Then as we go on to lap 14, then I'm not quite sure what Mylander is thinking. Maybe he's got himself a bit of tea or something that he wants to drink. Then as he gets himself back in the pit lane as quickly as possible. Then 4 seconds the gap then for Kamara Racer. Then Nigel and Farf then switching places then into turns 1 and 2. There's contact with the Alpine of Potstuff, and goodness me, what has gone on there then between Farf and Potstuff? Then that is bad news indeed. There's a ghost car of Potstuff, I think there, and yeah, unfortunately that was I think that was Farf's doing, because that Alpine was ahead of him and wasn't able to get himself out of the way then. So I think that was Farf then going into the back of the Alpine, which cost them both then, of course, but it cost Farf and Potstuff dearly indeed. Then of course Potstuff has got that drive through as well to serve, as round the outside goes Farf, then trying to get himself back down the inside then of the Alpine. I'm not quite sure what Farf is on at the moment, but he's going aggressive indeed, put it that way. Yeah, unfortunately for Farf, then that is just going to come back to bite him, I think, with a penalty coming his way already. With Potstuff then being spun around then on the track, that is. He got into the back of Jinner as well then, into the hairpin, and unfortunately he's not looking good then out there for anybody near Farf at the moment then. So yeah, stay clear. But blimey, that was ambitious to say the least then, out in front. Then Vessia and Mumford have switched places. Then Vessia now down the inside of the AlphaTauri up into P5 and charging on there as well then. Down the back of the order then, Farf, no, not Farf, then Potstuff and Nameless are battling away. Then Potstuff has lost out then to the Alpha Tauri, then into P14 goes Nameless, then into the pits comes Potsdam to serve that drive-through. I think then he's gone wide once again then, but it seems like everyone's going that way. Gira's lost out to 5. I think they're down towards turn 1, then into turn 1, then the Haas is ahead now, and on the back of Hassel then, he's down the inside of Hassel then into turns 2 and 3. He's going to have to go around the outside now for turn 3, and can he hold it around the outside is the question then. Here we go then, there's a power on, traction on, ERS on, everything on then for the Haas cars. We go down the inside now into the hairpin of sector 2 then, flying down the inside then, can he hold the move then is the question. There's contact between the cars as well then. Hassel then still has the inside, he's still there then on Favre then, he's made contact with Favre then, and both cars almost spin then as well then, and unfortunately that was Hassel making a mess of that turn as well then, unfortunately then, as Jenner is battling away then now with Craig Arthur. He's lost out to the Ferrari as well then, down to P15 then for Jenner, unfortunately for the Aston Martin I should say. Now Sweet Peter is looking to get himself into the fight as well then, trying to go down the inside into sector 3, not where you want to poke your nose down there. I don't think there's Hassel's having a few issues out there as well then. It looks like then with Craig R getting himself past, then Hassel losing the car then on the track, and here comes Sweet Peter then trying to get himself past Ginner as well. Has Ginner got front wing position? I think he might have lost that right end plate then for the Aston Martin car, which is not going to be helping his race then. Craig R's been passed then by passed by the Red Bull then of Hassel. Into the hairpin we go then, and Ginner then has got himself into the fight as well then. Hassel past Nameless then on the medium compound tyres, then up into P12, then here comes Craig R then into the final corner. Ginner is in the pit lane I think. Yes, he is then. Ginner is coming in to serve, I think, to sort out that front wing then. Potstaff has had an issue as well then somewhere. He is coming back to the pit lane now, and unfortunately for Potstaff and for Ginner, they both had a bit of an escapade then on that restart. Then unfortunately they've cost themselves both a front wing to sort themselves out then. Hopefully they can get themselves sorted and back underway. Then Ginner's onto a set of soft compound tyres, which is going to be very interesting to the end of the Grand Prix from here. We will wait and see if he can do that. Potstaff, I think, is carrying on then. Has Potstaff got any wing? Yes, he has got. Oh, he has got the front wing then still. So unfortunately for Potstaff, we didn't see what happened then, but he had a spin somewhere. No, he didn't, did he? He had a drive-through, didn't he? Of course, I completely forgot about that. Sorry, Potstaff, I was saying that you'd spun, but you haven't. You have served your drive-through now and back underway then. 15 seconds off the field as it stands then. DRS has been re-enabled, I think, as we get ourselves through the next couple of laps. And Fanjo then is still clinging on to the back then of Dylan then. He's done a great job then to hold on to that DRS range then as we go down the main straight, down the back straight, I would say. Then here we go, then DRS is enabled then for the Williams cars. We go down towards the hairpin once again then. Can he make a move for the race lead then? Down the inside, no switches to the outside here, and down the hairpin now we go on lap 16 then. Can he make the move for the race lead then? Dylan on the soft compound tyres holding on then on the traction, but he's lost out, has he? Oh yes, has he? No, he has lost out. He has lost out, but he's got himself some DRS now down the main straight to try and get himself back in the lead then for turn 1 then. And here he goes then back on the attack then for the McLaren, and back up the inside then into turn 1. He takes back the lead then, but these soft compound tyres, I don't think, as Fangio then still on the inside there into turn 2. And could he hold it around the outside now for turn 3? This is getting close indeed. The soft compound tyres do not seem to be working then for Dylan. Unfortunately then in the McLaren, this is going to be costly indeed then if he has to make another stop. I'm pretty sure he will have to make another stop because he's still got to do another 12 laps indeed on these tyres as well. Then Nameless has got himself past Hassel. Then we'll come back to the battle then as Nameless is going around the outside then of Hassel. There's all sorts of action forming behind this battle here as well then, because Reflection, Craig R and Sweet P are all in this coveted fight as well then for P12. Which is not a proper points position yet, but there we go then. So Nameless then is trying to get himself past. Then has he got himself past this time? We'll have to wait and see then. Hassel holding it around the outside then into sector 2, but Nameless has got himself ahead now into sector 2 as well then. Good stuff indeed then. Reflection now waiting in the wings then right behind the Red Bull car. Mr. Elite has picked up a penalty then, unfortunately. Mr. Elite, he's going into Sector 3 now. But we're watching this battle here then because it's been absolutely epic so far. Hopefully they can keep it clean and keep it tidy then is the question then. But as we go now into Sector 3 then, of course, DRS is going to be available then for the cars behind Nameless, as they've got a change for the race lead. Then Dylan then has lost out. Then he's going to go for a switch back here, then up the inside, then back up the inside. Then has he got the position done? I think he might have done this time. Then he's not taking the lead then. I thought he did take back the lead then for a brief moment then, but unfortunately then Fangio has got himself back through then and back up into the race lead. Then he's got some DRS to defend as well then, and Max is going for the move. Mags, well, gone to the wrong way then. Mags is going down the inside then off the McLaren, and he's got the position as well then, and Mags now trying to take the race lead then round the outside of Fangio then into turn 3. It's getting close indeed between the three Irishmen. There's yellow flags in the background. What's happened there? And Reflection's had an issue then at the what's happened to Reflection then? He's had an issue then somewhere at the where is that? That's at the pit exit somehow, but he's not been in the pit lane. So unfortunately, I'm not quite sure what's happened there, but it looks like something untoward has happened, put it that way. So we'll have to wait and see what's happening after the race on that one. But like I was saying, the three Irishmen then are loving it out there at the moment. Then Gordo is still trying to catch up and then hold on to that 1 second window. He's within that 1 second window as well, potentially could get himself dragged along there with some DRS then as the top 3 start to fight here as well. Then Dylan then is on the soft compound tyres. I think he might have to pit very soon and get rid of those softs very quickly indeed then, because I don't think they're working out in his favour at this stage of the race. Here we go then down towards the we've got yellow flags again then for an Alpine of is it Reflection? It is Reflection again then, so Reflection's having another issue then as well then. I'm not quite sure what's happening to Reflection then. Has he got his front wing? Yes, he has. So I'm not quite sure if it was a spin then or what happened then, to be honest, for Reflection. But there we go then, as we go into lap 19 now as well. Crossing the line then is Fangio in the race lead then. So far so good. 300p and Hassel then backing away once again. Then Hassel has dropped down behind the McLaren this time as we go into the final corner. Onto lap 19 for those drivers as well, then into the twilight zones of this twilight range of this Grand Prix. Then Dopey Lemon's trying to go around down the inside now at turn 2. Nigel will have the inside at turn 3. Then he's got the move. Then he's got the position still. I think Kamara is back in the pit lane, and Kamara is calling it down the medium compound tyres already. Then so I'm not quite sure what's happened to Kamara out there, but he's had some sort of issue as well. Then Potts now carries on. Reflection carries on as well. Then Jenner is trying to soldier on those soft compound tyres. Can he get to the end on those soft compound tyres is the question. Kamara's on for a wing change there, so I think he might cause the yellow flags then with a spin then for Kamara, unfortunately, out there, which is what we saw then on the last lap. And Dylan is losing time. He's not having a great time out there on those soft compound tyres already. Then he's done 6, or this is his 7th lap then on the soft compounds, and they are not holding together then as he might have hoped, I don't think, which is a bit of a shame then for Dylan. Of course, he was looking to try and charge on then for the race win here, but it seems to be going in the way of Fangio and Mags, who are on the medium compound tyres out there as it stands. Starting to get a bit grey over the Shanghai International Circuit here, so potentially we might see some rain coming in the latter stages. That will definitely spice things up then for the last few minutes of this race, but fingers crossed for me personally it doesn't happen. But there we go then. Dopey Lemons has got himself past Nigel, then down the inside, then into the hairpin. He's gone deep though, and here comes Nigel then on the switchback. Then Nigel losing traction, and that has allowed Dopey Lemons to keep hold of the place then into P8 for the Williams car. Good stuff indeed. And there we go then. Good stuff indeed. Yeah, so Mags then unfortunately has Gordo has got himself that 5-second penalty. Then he's lost out then to the fighting pack behind. Then Hassau is finally in the pit lane. Well, not finally, sorry, he's called it a day then on those tyres as well. Then Hassau into the pit. He's got a 5-second penalty, speeding in the pit lane as well. Then going a bit too fast, then into the box. And unfortunately, I think he's going with the soft compound tyres, but unfortunately that 5-second penalty, he's got a wing change as well then out there. So unfortunately for him, he's had to get himself into the box then and get onto a set of soft compound tyres, potentially to the end of the Grand Prix, hopefully to the end of the Grand Prix. Otherwise that will be very costly indeed then, of course, in terms of time. That is, making more stops means you go a bit slower over the race itself. If you didn't know that, that is scientific proof. So there you go. Enjoy that little bit of fantastic knowledge. But there we are then into the top 3. They've dropped Gordo now as well. Gordo's now 1.8 seconds behind this top 3 battle as we go round into lap 20 now as well to finish off lap 20 as well. And here comes Max then all over the back of Fangio. Can he get himself into the race lead? The championship leader looking to get himself a race win under his belt then to extend his championship lead over Dylan in P3 as it stands as well. Then as we go down the back straight towards that hairpin once again, then Vesser's got himself past but into the top 3. No changes made. Then Vesser's got himself back up into P5, then ahead now of Mumford in the Alpha Tauri. Goodness me. it's been action-packed to say the least so far in this race. Then yellow flags once again. Then we've got another problem. Then it's Reflection again in Sector 2, who's had another issue. Then has Reflection, unfortunately for the Alpine. Then it's not going his way out there, and it is a big shame indeed. Then because he's not having the best time in that Alpine here tonight. Then, but he's still carrying on. Then his Reflection, which is good to see. Then Nigel's got himself past Dopey Lemons, has he, into turn 1, and now into turn 2. Yeah, yes, he is up into P8. Then both the Hasses and the Williams and Dopey Lemons have been having a race-long battle pretty much so far. Dopey Lemons is on the medium compound tyres, same for Favre as well. Then can those tyres hold on to the end of the Grand Prix? They're going to have to do quite a stint indeed. Nigel might be in the best place or best position on this set of tyres then to get himself to the end of the race. And grey clouds are really coming in now, actually, to be fair though. I think there might be some rain on the horizon, then we'll have to wait and see, because the grey clouds are really coming down and very quickly indeed. It's gone from bright sun then to very gloomy over in this part of the world. Will that mean there's rain falling very soon in this race, or will it fall just at the end of the Grand Prix? We'll have to wait and see. Here comes as Favre has got himself past Dopey Lemons, has he? Oh my goodness me, then forcing his way through then is Favre. Then he's got himself up into P9 just about then, and they've lost a lot of time then to Nigel as well. Then out in front, then Mags has made the move for the race lead, then up into P1 ahead of Fangio now into the hairpin at the end of lap 21. Then Vessier and Mumford switching places once again. Then these two fighting each other then for the remainder of this Grand Prix. It looks like Fangio then is dropped down to P2 then, but can he get himself back up into the race lead then very quickly indeed? We'll wait and see. You go down the main straight towards turn 1, then Favre and Dopey Lemons still battling away. Then in the background, then as here comes Fangio then all into a turn 1, but not quite then, as Favre then is back in the DRS range of his teammate. Then that's going to be good news indeed then for Favre. He can try and use that DRS then to fend off Dopey Lemons. Then down to P10 then for the Williams car. Then Mr. Elite has caught up to this battle as well then in P11 for the time being. Of course, he's got that penalty that's going to be added onto his race time as well then, which is costly indeed then, because he could get himself into the points pen positions very shortly as well. Then lap 22 of 28, then it's getting more and more cloudy out there as well then. Is there rain afoot then for the rest of this race then, or very shortly in this race? We'll have to find out then. 22 laps of 28 then could be a very wet finish then for the last 2 or 3 laps. We'll have to wait and see. It's going to be exciting stuff then. It could be all over the place then. We'll have to wait and see as well. How it's going to unfold then. It could be. Oh dear, I thought that was rain falling then. Is there rain? Is there rain? Oh my goodness me, it's going to be, if it starts raining now, that's going to be a very spicy end to this race. Then Dylan, unfortunately, on the soft compound tyres, dropping off the top 2 now. And that is, I think, the end for the soft compound tyres out here as well. Then, if there is rain coming, I think that Dylan has tried to forecast that coming as early as possible then, so the soft compound tyres can be thrown off for a set of intermediate compounds. But unfortunately, it's not worked out in his favour. Then Fangio stays behind the Ferrari of Mags for the time being. Dylan must be praying for rain, says Serious Rushman. I think there is rain on the forecast, and I think a few drivers then have gone for this set of soft compound tyres or a set of medium compound tyres under the safety car, then predicting the rain to be falling before the end of the Grand Prix. But will it fall before the end of the Grand Prix is the question. We go through turns 1 and 2 now on to lap 23. There are only 6 laps remaining here in this Grand Prix as well now, and like I said, it's not going to be much time then for the rain to start falling. Then if it does fall, is it going to be strong enough then? Is it going to be wet enough then for the intermediate compound tyres, or will the drivers have to struggle on then on their older tyres as well? Hassel up into P16 ahead now of Jenner, then into the hairpin of lap 22 for those drivers. Then of course they're going on to lap 23 now as well. Then out in front is Pot Stuff. Then he is in the Alpine that he's lost out to. He's now within the DRS range is Hassel, I think, just about then, as we go down the main straight now here. Goodness me, it could get even more spicy. I was going to say it's been a spicy race and it's calmed down a bit now, but if it starts raining, then that is going to throw everything up in the air, I think, as well here. Who is going to call it right then? Is anybody going to try and struggle on then to the end of the Grand Prix, particularly those on the set of soft compound tyres? The likes of Hassel, the likes of Jenner, the likes of Kamara Racer potentially could try and struggle on. Of course, the softer the compound, the grippier they will be, even in the wet conditions. So potentially they might work in their favour. Here comes Fangio then for the race lead. They're down towards the hairpin once again, but he's decided to back off then. He's holding station for the time being. Vessier's not holding station. No, Vessier back up into P5 as Mumford and Vessier carry on their battle then for into the hairpin. There's very close indeed between the Alfa Tauri then and the Alfa Romeo then as we go through into the final corner. But blimey, it was, like I said, it's getting very close out in front as well. Then into turn one, then Fanjo waiting in the wings. Then he's not trying to make that move just yet. Then he's not being too desperate out there as well. Then he's just biding his time. Yellow flags. Then yellow flags. It's for Reflection as well. Reflection's having a horrible time out there. Unfortunately for Reflection, I'm not quite sure if it's just the setup then, or if the car, or if there's other issues then for Reflection. Then his teammate has been passed then by Hassel then on the soft compound up into P16 now for the Red Bull car then, and trying to power on those soft compound tyres as well then to the end of this Grand Prix here. But so far it is as what's happening. Hassel's in the pit lane, so Hassel's back in the pit now. He's only done 4 laps on those tyres and he's quit in the pit lane, so that is him done in this race. But unfortunate then for Hassel then. I think that's both Red Bull cars then out of this Grand Prix, and not good news then for Red Bull here in China then tonight then, unfortunately for the silver grid, that is. Yeah, but there we are then. As we go through now into the end of lap 24, then will Fanjo make the move then for the race lead here? He's going to be very close indeed. He's got the position, he's got the DRS, then he's got the move then up into the race lead. Then has Fanjo, then he takes the position away from Mags for the time being as well, that is. But I think, oh dear, he's going to be very long on the brakes then for Mags, then almost at the back of the Williams car then, but he has managed to avoid any incident. As we go through onto lap 25 then of 28, then there is going to be, what is that, 4 laps of racing remaining here. If it's going to rain, it needs to rain now then, to make it a bit more spicy. Then Dylan has done 13 laps then on he's done 12 laps on those soft compound tyres. I think he's going to the end of this race on these tyres as well. Then this is going to be fantastic stuff indeed for Dylan if he can hold it all together, then that is. Will those tyres hold on is the other question. Driver of the Day poll is out in the comment section. Fanjo, Vessia, Favre and Mags are your Driver of the Day candidates then. There are your position changes then as well. Fanjo is up 4 places. He has not held his place then. For some reason the graphic is not working there, but he's up 4 places then is Fanjo. Down 1 place of course from pole position is Mags then, but he's done a good job then in this race nonetheless then. Vessia then is up 3 places and potentially could gain another place then into P4 then, with of course Gordo's 5-second penalty to be added onto his race time at the end of the race as well. But there we are, and Favre then in P9 as it stands, and up 10 places, potentially to get himself past his teammate of Nigel then, as these two looking through. As we got rain, there is a flash of rain then as well. Then there is rain coming here in China then for the last 3 laps of this Grand Prix. Is it going to be wet enough then for the intermediate compound tyres then, or are we going to be able to try and slog it out then on the dry compounds, the mediums, the hards and the softs? We will wait and see then. The rain starts to fall here as we go into sector 3 then for the Haas pair, and don't think DRS is going to be disabled then just yet then, but it is not going to be good news then if it starts to rain any heavier than in this race later on then. Mumford up into P5 then, Mumford looking good so far in this race as well then. But we have got rain now. The rain starting to fall. Reflection's retired in the pit lane then. So Reflection is into the box then. Unfortunately for Reflection, he's I'm not quite sure why he's pitted quick there. It was almost at the end of the race, to be fair. Dylan is in the box and he's calling it now. I think he needed to call it then for the intermediate compound tyres. And if it does switch to intermediates, then Dylan is going to be on fire. Not literally, because those tyres are going to be very wet, but he's going to be on fire then, making the right call. Then Dopey Lemons is also in the pit lane, same for Nameless as well. Then they're coming in, and is it going to be the right call is the question now, as 300B takes away that P10 from Dylan then onto the main straight we go then for the McLaren then, who has pitted from P3 then. These intermediates need to work out then for Dylan then, they need to work out for Dopey Lemons, they need to work out for Nameless as well then, who are the only 3 drivers to make a pit stop here as we go on to lap 26 then. 3 laps remain here as... Oh my goodness, I thought that was Reflections. Blimey, I thought that was something else. But no, it was all good. Yeah, Dylan now needs to hope that the heavens do open, to be fair, because it's going to be very costly indeed if it's not the right call then. Where are the intermediate compound tyres going to rank then on the track as it stands then? Junior is in the pit lane as well. Potstaff is in the pit lane, so I think it is coming into the wet compound territory already then, very quickly indeed. Then this is going to be very good news for Dylan as he gets himself through. Then Fanjo has got himself past then into P1 then into the front of the front of the race, into the front of Mags, in front of Mags, I should say, blimey, as they go into the hairpin. Now, I think it's already intermediate conditions, to be fair. This is going to be fantastic news for Dylan then, who's made the right call, and he's going to be flying through. Look at this, and he's got the intermediate call right as well then. Spot on then from Dylan. This is going to be fantastic. Into the pits then come the top two. Where will he come out then in the rest of the fight then with his former rivals? And he was 4 seconds back then, but can he make the undercut work then? Gordo carries on in this race. He is struggling on. Mumford and Vessia carry on as well. Then there's going to be drivers going to the end on the dry compound tyres. DRS has been disabled on the penultimate lap here. My goodness me. This is going to get spicy indeed, isn't it? Look at this then as we go on to the penultimate lap now. Lap 27 has commenced, and where is Dylan going to come out in the fight? Then he is going to be behind his two challengers then, but he's going to be on the he's going to have a bit more knowledge on those intermediate compound tyres than the two ahead of him as well. Then could catch up then in the next few corners or so, but he's 2 seconds back then. He was over 4 seconds, of course, if you remember back that far. Mr. Elite coming out of the pit lane now. Dopey Lemons has done a pit. He's pitted earlier as well. He's now back up into P10. Then Nameless is up into P11 as Mr. Elite comes out of the pit lane in P12. Nigel down to P13. I think he had to double stack behind his teammate, and that's been very costly indeed for Nigel. Craig are onto the intermediate compound tyres as well. Kamara Racer just making his way into the pit lane now as well. Then unfortunately for Kamara Racer then, as he's got himself into the box now. But Gordo, Mumford and Vessia. Then there's yellow flags then for a Ferrari. I think that was Craig Arlen, but he's got himself back underway quickly enough. Unfortunately for Kamara Racer, he's a bit too late then, pitting onto the intermediate compound tyres. Then out in front, we've got 3 drivers, then 9 seconds ahead, then onto the back straight. Then they've got one more lap to go after this one. No DRS now available, then they've got that gap is coming down. Then Fanjo then is going to be looking very comfortable indeed. Then if he can see the drivers in the foreground, then trying to battle then into first turn, into the hairpin, I should say. Then as we go late on the brakes, then trying to slow the cars down, but they can't get the cars slowed down here into the hairpin corner, as Gordon then has got the lead still. But unfortunately for Gordon, this is going to be a struggle indeed. Then trying to get himself to the checkered flag. Indeed, one more lap to go then for the Mercedes as he leads the way. Then Mumford in P2, Vessia in P3, but the gap then was 7 seconds as they went onto the back straight. Then Fanjo now down to 3.5 seconds. He's going to be flying through very easily, I think, on these intermediate compound tyres on this last lap here. R2P has got himself past 200p, then into P7 now. Father's gone through as well. Then I think 200p then has called defeat then on those medium compound tyres, and just letting the drivers go through. Then unfortunately for Swinton being the wrong call then, which indicates that the wrong call then for the top 3 as well. Then Reflection has left the session, and here comes Fanjo. Then he's all over the back of Vessia already. He's passed Vessia into sector 2 now. Let's have a look and see what the Williams car can do. Can he get himself past into the hairpin? Then Vessia skating off the track then, as here comes Mags. Then Mags has gone through as well. Then Mumford has been passed as well. Gordo's been passed, and Fanjo takes the lead of the Grand Prix on the final lap here in Silver Season 7 round 14. Mags is through as well. Then Gordo's just dropped down to P3. Mumford is all over the back of the Mercedes car as well, but the medium compound tyres are just not holding on out there. Vessia then is under pressure. Then there's I think Dylan all over the back of him as well. Then there's contact between the Alfa Romeo then and the McLaren then as we go into sector 2 now as well. Then and Vessia has had to yield then to the McLaren, flying through into P5. Then Mumford I think is going to be trying to hold on then to that P3 position then, but unfortunately I think Dylan is going to be trying to slide himself through there down the inside here as we go down the inside of both of them. Then for the McLaren up into P3 for Dylan. Then he takes back the podium place. Then it's an all-Irish P3 top 3 once again. Then Gordo down the back straight. Then he's going to be trying to fight on, but I don't think it's going to be enough then, unfortunately for the Mercedes driver, as we got to go back to Mags. Then Mags has taken the lead down the back straight then, and Fanjo then has lost out then somewhere, and Mags then is going to come round the final corner then to win here in China then for the Chinese Grand Prix in Silver Season 7, and Mags, the championship leader, takes hold of the win here in Shanghai. A fantastic result then for Mags, and from pole position then to the checkered flag, he wins the Chinese Grand Prix in style here on the final lap as well. Then Fanjo in P2, a great result from Fanjo then as well, very, very well raced from the Irishman then, as Dylan takes P3, all 3 of the Irishmen on the podium places. Then Mumford in P4, then great result from Mumford. Vessia P5, Gordo in P6 then after that 5-second penalty, and of course battling on then those 3 on the medium compound tyres. Then R2 P7, Farf P8, then Dopey Lemons P9, Nameless P10, Nigel in P11, then Mr. Elite P12. Craig R has got himself past Sweet MP then in P13. Sweet MP I think will finish in P14, then Potstaff P15, Jinner in P16 then, and Kamara Racer will cross the line in P17. But goodness me, that was one hell of a Grand Prix to say the least, wasn't it? But what a race indeed then. Congratulations to those who got to the checkered flag as well then, as that was epic stuff indeed then. We'll look through the classification very shortly and hopefully get some interviews then with the top three as well. But blimey, what a finish then. What a I think not Nigel. I think Shanghai then had something in store for us tonight then, didn't it? And blimey, put on a show for sure in silver. Fantastic stuff indeed then. It's been 2 wet races as well then. So wet race in gold last night and the wet race here in silver as well then. Hopefully we'll have to wait and see what time is going to be like as well tomorrow night in bronze. But there we are then. There is your podium sitter then. Mags takes the win then and extends his championship lead then. Fanjo in P2 then and Dylan in P3 is your classification then provisionally then for the Chinese Grand Prix. I completely missed it. A serious question said, how did Mags do that? We'll have to ask him in the interviews, to be fair, but we'll have to find out because I have no idea. But we will find out now. I need to get myself sorted because I haven't got my headset sorted either, have I? This one. Hopefully I can get me headset. Oh no, I need that on. Well, we'll run through the classification then just quickly enough, as we've got Mags taking the win then, Fanjo in P2 then, as we'll go through very quickly indeed, Dylan in P3, Mumford P4, Vessia P5, Gordo in P6, R2B P7, Farf P8, and Dopey Lemons P9. Nameless rounds off the top 10. Into the bottom 10, then we've got Nigel in P11, then Mr. Elite in P12, Craig R in P13, Swearer P in P14, Potstuff P15, Jinner in P16, then Camaro P17. Unfortunately, retirements were Reflection, Hassel, and Irvine then in that race as well. Then unfortunately, both the Red Bulls not having a great race out there as well tonight. I think we've got somebody joining us anyway. We'll have a look and see who's in the party with us. We'll start off with the race winner, then the championship leader, then of Mags. You've got yourself another race win on the cards, and a fantastic race indeed from yourself. Then, did you think the rain was going to fall before the checkered flag, or were you hoping that it didn't fall?
Hello.
Hello?
I think it's just us.
Nobody can hear me. That's great.
I can't hear
So
you.
that's helpful.
Can't hear you now, see if you're speaking.
Yeah. Well, good stuff indeed. Well, we can't hear me, so that's helpful.
Because if he was just streaming muted.
You should be able to hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah.
You had a good race then, Mags, and you took the race win then from pole position as well then. But did you think you had it in the bag at the end then when it started raining?
Not really, to be honest with you. I was surprised with pole because I knew, well, I think Fanjo, he might have got blocked or something on his last lap, but he had the quicker piss between the three of us. But I was happy with pole, but then I seen Don on the mediums. Knew he was going to take me, didn't want to fight him, there was no point. But then mediums at the start were just, they were rapid, like there was no way I could have caught back up them. And then it was just kind of just keep everything clean and all. And the safety car came out, probably I would have wanted to go a wee bit longer on the hards. But we didn't know if the rain was going to come or not, and it did come, and he definitely would have had it put as you seen, like. But my piss was just okay in the inters, and I don't know if Fanjo, I think he might have got on the power a wee bit too early or something last corner, or put on his ERS or something a wee bit too early, but and gave me the run anyway.
And you said there you didn't know if the rain was going to come at the very end. Then well, neither did we, to be fair. I just remember seeing it in the commentary, and just it started getting a bit cloudy over around lap 20, 22, 23. Were you hoping that it didn't rain, or were you hoping that it would go in your favour, depending on which way you wanted it? Then did you want it to rain, or did you not?
No, I didn't want it to rain because Dallin took the risk of going on the softs as well, because he was like, I was expecting the rain to come, and I was like, right, well, if the rain doesn't come, my mediums are going to be better. And then I would have probably just tried to stay behind Fanjo until the very end and maybe try and build up a bit of battery, because it's impossible around that track to get any type of battery. And then I would have tried to get the one that way, but I'm happy to at least bounce back. I would have been happy with a podium. They bounced back after that race last week. I was gutted about that Qatar race, but we move on, and I'm happy to get a decent amount of points between me and Dallin for the last few races. The championship's tight.
Yeah, it's looking quite strong then for yourself in Ferrari. Then, do you think you can take the title on? You could take the title on before the final race of the season, or are you going to leave it to the last minute?
Hopefully not, because Amla is not one of my favorite tracks, so I would love to have it kind of buried and gone by then. So we'll see what happens.
There you go, Dylan. That's all your motivation you need then. Good stuff indeed. But well done to Mags then, taking a win here in China, then bouncing back, like
Cheers,
you said,
man. Cheers.
here in fantastic style as well then. Fandro then P2. You got yourself a fantastic result. Then you were battling pretty much for the whole. To be fair, I was saying it in the commentary as well. It was an all Irish top three, but it was quite good stuff indeed between all three of you, and especially in that first stint, you were having to fight back. Then after I think you had a bit of an issue in qualifying. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, no, I probably went out too early, but then I kind of did 2 outlaps, and on my my last run, I guess, I was kind of expecting a bit of traffic, but in fairness, everyone got out of my way up except for sweet MJP, and he just stayed on the racing line, and we made contact. I was expecting him to get out of the way, but he didn't, so unfortunately I had to settle for, what was it, 5th, I think, in qualifying, but
yep.
Sure, it is what it is.
And well, it didn't matter, to be fair. In the end, then you bounced back in the first stint pretty quickly indeed. Then got yourself into the fight then with Dylan and with Mags, of course, as well. Dylan currently was leading the race at the time then, but you won the hard compound tires, and I think you were saying the same as Mags then, potentially then looking to go longer in the first stint and hoping that did that safety car cost you then in that first stint? Do you reckon same as Mags, or did you want to pit at that time, roughly around that time anyway?
Yeah, no, like I was happy with the few overtakes, and it was just like we couldn't catch up to Dylan. He was really good pace in those mediums, in fairness. So actually, it didn't come out at a bad time, but we were lucky because Dylan only just overtook the safety car. So if he hadn't done that, I think we would have been screwed. But thankfully he did, and that meant because we started on the hard, we knew kind of mediums could get to the end if we needed them to. But I remember from the strategy at the start of the race, like it seemed to get very wet at the very end of the race, so we just had to keep that in mind, myself and Mags. So yeah.
Good pace in the end then, and you got yourself a P2 then. Do you reckon you can get yourself into the top 3 of the in the final order then, 3 races to go?
It'll be tricky, but yeah, I think I have the pace. Like I just lost the rear bit in the hairpin there, so I think if I got that win, it would have been a little easier. But sure, I love to do it the hard way, and not it. Like,
don't worry, I didn't even see it on stream because I was busy doing something else. Don't know what it was, but there we go. So completely missed it. So don't worry about it. But congratulations then P2 then for Fangio as well. Then in the Williams. Then we go to Dylan in P3 and. Dylan, you call yourself the bottle job then? Well, we're going to talk about the strategies then. So what do you think about the strategy that you put on that McLaren then tonight?
To be fair, I didn't want that safety car to come out. I want going to the pits for the hards, but it's like a safety car come out, you have to alter the strategy to go on to the softs, just like try to keep Max and Fangio behind me. I like did for a couple of laps, but it's like, yeah, their medium is too overpowered, so pretty much it is what it is. Like safety car came out at the wrong time.
And you went onto the soft compound tires. Did you think you should go? If you look in hindsight, would you go back onto the hard? Would you go onto the hard compound tires this time, or what would you do now?
I would use another set of mediums before going on inters, to be quite frankly.
Fair enough then, yeah. But obviously you didn't know. Well, nobody seemed sure that the rain was actually going to fall at the end of that one, and it was very close to the end of the race as well. We saw 3 drivers then 4 drivers actually did carry on then on the dry tyres to the end of that Grand Prix. But all 3 of you caught up to them and passed them as well on that last lap. So it showed that you were on the right tyre at the end then. On the soft compound tyres, you did drop down to P3 then. Did you think potentially that... obviously, with the rain rain coming in the end, then I should say. Did you think that you would still be able to get yourself back on the podium then, or did you think that potentially the podium were gone?
I say like, damn if I do, damn if I don't. With with the tires dropping off like massively. Hopefully, thankfully, the rain came at the perfect time. So yeah, it's kind of like perfect time for me box because the tire software died at the very end. To be quite frankly,
you just about got it to the to that just pit window when you got onto the intermediate compound tires, and it did work out for you because you got yourself back on the podium again, once again as well, as I should say then. So it's still a good result then with my eyes. To be fair, podium is nothing to sniff at, so there we go. But congratulations then to yourself there, Dylan, in P3, rounding off the podium places. Then we've got bronze tomorrow night. Then of course they're going to be taking on Shanghai as well. Then hoping for probably no rain as well, but we'll wait and see. And then of course the 100% League will be back then for the penultimate round of the season then on Wednesday in Silverstone. So stay tuned then to ALR. There is plenty more action coming up then, and we'll see you very soon.